Well, the All Blacks versus France series is underway in Dunedin, and it's half-time currently in the game. The All Blacks are leading 21 points to 13. It was really a game of two halves, I thought, in that first half. The French came out and did what we thought the French would do. They really took it to the All Blacks, and they started winning the kicking duel, I thought, in the first 20 minutes of the game. They were using a lot of high balls. Sigon at their number 10 was putting up a lot of high balls. The All Blacks were not dealing with it very well, and the All Blacks were trying to respond with some high balls of their own, and it wasn't really finding the line. But the French came out firing and got up to 10 points to nil. They scored a really fantastic try through Gillard, and that was on a great line break that started back in their half. So the All Blacks had been over the line. Jordie Barrett got over the line, but it was a no try because Fletcher Newell had knocked the ball on prior to the build-up to that try. And unfortunately, the All Blacks weren't able to capitalise, and the French hit straight back and put some points on. Bucks were good. They came back in that first half, and for the last 20 minutes, they really increased the pace of the game. You could start seeing that taking the toll on the French, I thought. And as they did, the All Blacks were starting to find more holes, and we were starting to see Christian Leo Willie, Ardie Savea and Tupou Vai really making a difference in the back three. And they had a couple of occasions where they picked the ball up, ran through the middle of the French ruck and really made some good line breaks. A couple of handling errors, I thought, let the All Blacks down. In fact, they went to half-time 6-3 ahead when it came to handling errors. A couple of those from Billy Proctor, who I thought made a couple of mistakes in the first half, but in the last try of the first half, it was his depth hands that helped the All Blacks set that up, so he redeemed himself on one of those. He'd have to have a good second half, I think, Billy Proctor, to redeem himself across the whole game. Damian McKenzie came on early because Sevu Reece in the first 50 seconds of the game got a head knock. He went in for a tackle. His head hit the hip of the French player. He's basically concussed himself and he wasn't back on the field. So we saw Damian McKenzie come on in the first minute of the game, something the All Blacks weren't expecting, I'm sure. But McKenzie made some good line breaks in the first half, just not quite being able to get the play continuing though. Once he got the ball, he wasn't able to find the offload to a support player. But all in all, I thought the All Blacks were starting to come back in that first half, putting the pressure on the French, and it was starting to tell with those good tries that they scored at the back end of the first half. Tupou Vai got a try as well, which was a really good try by the All Blacks after a solid build-up. And we saw a good try by Jordie Barrett in the end, just on half-time, and a great conversion from Beauden Barrett. So the All Blacks go to the lead, 21 points to 13 in the first half at half-time. But I'm very impressed with this French team, as I thought we would be. There's a lot of really good players. They've got a lot of top 14 experience, these guys. They can kick the ball well. They look very dangerous when they make line breaks. And the young forwards that we haven't seen a lot of. So a lot of the French forwards are doing very, very well. Duguay is a standout for me at the moment. He's playing exceptionally well. But I think the All Blacks are starting to get on top of them. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in the second half. There you go. My first half wrap in this game. The first test match between the All Blacks and the French being played in Dunedin tonight. Well, the final whistle's just gone in the All Blacks versus France game, and boy, what a game it was. And first of all, to all my New Zealand friends who've been talking about this French team being disrespectful and sending a B team, well, that B team was nearly good enough to beat the All Blacks today, and the All Blacks got away with one for sure here. But for me, the whole game changed in the first seconds of the second half when Rieko Ioane dropped the kickoff from the French team, and it gave the French the momentum to get back into this game. It was an absolutely huge moment for me in this game because the All Blacks were leading 21-13 at half-time. They'd gone into half-time with the momentum. They just needed to regather that ball from the kickoff, get a solid base and get downfield and keep putting the pressure on France. And this game would have been completely different. But that error from Rieko Ioane cost the All Blacks big time in this game, and it almost cost them the game in the end. I'm so impressed with this French team, I've got to say, and I'm going to start off with talking about them. They were fantastic today. They made over 200 tackles. Their defence was amazing in many occasions when the All Blacks looked like scoring. They were in there getting the ball, making a turnover, getting a steal. It was a brilliant performance from the French in that area of the game. The defence kept them in the game, and it was really, really good. The All Blacks had 3 disallowed tries in this game, and they're all technically correct by the TMO and the referee. So if you go back and look at them, you'll see that for yourself. But the All Blacks, once again, are struggling to score points in the second half of their games. They only scored 10 points in the back end of this game, or in the second half of this game, and it's not going to be good enough as they continue their season. There were some standout players, I thought, for the All Blacks, though. I thought Cam Roigard was my player of the game, as well as Will Jordan. Obviously, Jordan scoring the tries in this game were fantastic. Fabian Holland had a brilliant debut for the All Blacks. He was fantastic in the line-out, but also in open play and getting the ball back. Scott Barrett had a good game. I thought Adi Savia was good. Christian Leo Willie was good until he went off. But for me, it was the French's tenacity and their ability to stay in this game through massive defence that really put them in the game. And they even went down to 14 men in that second half, with Villery getting sent off for an indiscretion with a deliberate knock-on. It was ruled by the referee and the TMO. So the All Blacks very lucky to get away with that one. Too many handling errors for me in this game. The All Blacks, when they did have the ascendancy, they dropped the ball or they made a simple error. We can put that down to rustiness, I think, but also the execution needs to be improved. Billy Proctor also had the opportunity to score a try, lost the ball as he went over the line. That was one of the disallowed tries. And for me, Proctor had a couple of errors in this game, so that's going to be an area that we need to look at. I also picked up halfway through the second half, Tupou Vai got a really bad knock on his shoulder. So watch out for what happens in the next 24 hours with that. I think he was playing as a very injured man for the last 20 minutes or so of that game. And I think that had a big impact on it as well. He was a tough man staying on the field because he looked really in pain. But what an outstanding game from France. I was very impressed that this particular team came in and surprised a lot of people, not me, because I thought they were going to give the All Blacks a go. And the All Blacks' problem for me is when they try and play the spontaneity against this French team, the French team are just as good at it, if not better, than what the All Blacks are. And when they tried to up the pace of the game, the All Blacks, they started making too many errors. So that's something they're going to need to look at. Get the foundation right first, get the set piece first, and then put the pressure on. But there was too many kicks going into nowhere. There was too many drop balls. There was too many handling errors for me. So you could see the frustration from Scott Robertson in the coaching box for the All Blacks throughout the second half, as error after error cost the All Blacks dearly and almost cost them this game. Fabien Galtier will be very happy with this French team's performance. They played exactly the right game plan to try and beat the All Blacks in Dunedin, and I think they're going to go to Wellington with a lot of motivation, thinking they can beat this All Black team. This series is on fire. This game by the French tonight have really shown the All Black community, I hope, that this French team should not be taken lightly. There weren't the 50 points in it that a lot of people were talking about, myself included. I thought the All Blacks were going to have an easy win, but after I've seen that French performance today, this is going to be a very tight series against the French. And Wellington, as a place for the All Blacks to play, is not a good hunting ground. They only have a 60 to 70% win record in Wellington. So the French will be going there, I believe, with a lot of self-belief that they can roll the All Blacks in this next game. So a lot of work for the All Blacks to do in training as they go away and look at this game and the debrief of it. Yes, it was the first game of their new season, so a little bit of understanding needs to be given for that. But it was also the French's first game as a team on this tour in New Zealand, so that you've got to really consider they played exceptionally well. And let's face it, they could have grabbed this game in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the game. It was that close. So a lot of things for the All Blacks to look at. I'll make a full in-depth video of this game later on, but I just wanted to give my initial thoughts after the final whistle today. The All Blacks scraped through in this game, 31 points to 27, scoring only 10 points in the second half. I've talked about the closing of games. The All Blacks were able to manage to hang on in this game, but it wasn't convincing in the end, and they were playing out the last minute trying to save the game. So there's plenty to unwrap from this game, and make sure you keep an eye out for my in-depth analysis video coming out pretty soon. Let me know what you thought of the game if you watched it, and were you surprised by the French, or were you surprised by the performance of the All Blacks? Putting it in a nutshell, I think Rieko Ioane's mistake from the start of the second half really changed the whole complexion of this game. It gave the French momentum and belief in that second half, and they nearly went on to steal the game. Okay, I'll see you all again soon. Get ready for the next game now. Coming up against New South Wales Waratahs. Time for a little bit of a wake-up call here in Cancun. See you all again soon. Bye-bye.